Even though you don't participate in my life, even though you don't hit the door of my house, even though it's not with me in my daily life. This fraternity is possible when we identify that we want the good of the other, that I just want good from the other. Brands of what was dreams that we will have as every day was born cloud, every dawn, or brands of what was dreams that we will have. This is when you look at everything that is marked in you by events and you allow the grace of God to act on that injured territory, about that terrified territory. The year was hard for all of us. I had my difficulties. You had yours. I have my wounds. You have yours. And now only we don't want to turn this year allowing these wounds to continue to determine us. We just want them to teach us that they new positions. This is conversion, my people. That's when we go to God to accomplish in us what we don't know how to do, or we don't have the courage. Conversion is that you give God the right to accomplish what you can't do, nor have the courage to accomplish alone. So many things in my way of being I can't modify alone. I can make my daily effort. But I need this action on God. Conversion is healing. It is modification, of course. It is reorienting the course, just as the day is born and gives me the opportunity to see its entire cycle again. Tomorrow we will have one morning, we will have an afternoon, we will have a night. This cycle I know by color. Wherever I go, who I will find. What will I write? What will I say? And all this can be at the service of our head. It is you looking at the cycle of this life that never ends. We will always have nights. We will always have mornings, dawn, afternoons, opportunities, hours at our disposal. And now, what to do with the time I have? What to do with the day I have? Do with the new year that is before my eyes, which in my heart I want this year to be more noble, which in my heart I want this year to be higher. I look at the marks that stayed, I for these dreams that I have, past and future concilio in a wise way to make this conciliation. We die too much when we idealize and don't dream. When I wake up knowing, just as the day will be a surprise, no matter how much I have a programmed, calculated routine. Who said that God cannot surprise? Who says something of a little girl can happen, provoke me a joy? I don't know. Who says this can't happen? So, looking at the life we have, this year we have, it's as if we gave God the right. Look, sir, I want to be surprised for a new time. I want to allow my destruction, that everything that has ruined in me this year, be of profound teaching, that fills me with wisdom, that grants me the grace to identify everything that can be even more beautiful in me. Because this is our desire. Return more and more our way of being beautiful, beautiful, fair, true. The reality is very attractive when it condenses these three realities. She is beautiful. She is fair. She is true. When we are willing to live Christianity, we do not want to, but to allow the beauty of God to be reflected in us, that are reflected in our attitudes. How does a Christian recognize the other? In the way they welcome themselves. I can say, handsome, that I live the gospel, that I am minister of this, minister of that. I am a priest. I am a prophet. But if I treat a person who approaches, I give her a counteract. I give her, generate in it, a disbelief of my Christianity. And the worst, I get unbelieving of myself. Which is the great trap of the devil in us, is when he makes us get stuck in these petty shops that disagree what we know of our Christianity. Because it is not the judgment of the other who drops me. What I do when I lie my head on my pillow. And I know I do not act Christian. It is like this, my people. Increasingly allowing this light to reach our conscience. Radically transform our way, as we look at us. The way we look at each other. This light that floods our room, removing everything that is dim, which makes us stumble in the middle of the dark. When the room is too dark, it is a danger to walk in it. We stumble. We can get hurt. A mind that is not illuminated by God. It gets hurt all the time. Why? Because it lacks this light that guides you, which allows you to walk safely, and God enlightens our conscience more and more. This is the life project we need to have for 2015. That our conscience is increasingly enlightened so that God gives us conditions to recognize where we make mistakes, where we are petty, where we are not acting in a beautiful, fair, true way. Then we are entering the year as every Christian needs to enter, with the responsibility that puts us hours of life that we want to reap. So be honest. Look at the seeds you have sown in your life. Look at the seeds you have sown in the other's life and realize if these seeds will generate things good or will generate bad things. Because this miracle God doesn't do. See? If I sow bad things, it is very likely it is not certain that these seeds will bring me very, very, very bad to be savored. Now, if I get closer through an illuminated consciousness, new proposals, the seed of resentment, the seed of the hurt, the seed of grudge, brands of what was dreams that we will have as every day I was born is Jesus who said that. And I said that very compromisingly, right? Look, everything you do to one of these minors, everything you do to one of these little ones, is me that you will be doing. Everything you do good in this world, all the love you have to these people who need to be loved. Be aware that you will be loving me too. It is this direct identification. The parable of the Samaritan beautifully shows us this interference from God in history through human gestures. The Samaritan, that man who welcomes inside the pension, who brings into the pension that man and asks the owner of the pension to take care of the one who was sick. Because the handsome thing is that charity is so much in the Samaritan that leads to the pension, as in the owner of the pension. Because the amount that the Samaritan left there to take care of the sick was for nothing. Then he had the gesture of solidarity to remove the patient from the street and put inside the pension. But the true charity who did it was the owner of the pension. Sometimes we don't think about it, right? Which is an anonymous of history. I discovered this through a teacher who was giving a lecture and said that the amount that speaks. Now I don't remember how many daras, right? The amount that the Samaritan left to be used was nothing close to what that patient needed. So this is interesting that the owner of the pension is the man of mercy. He is the anonymous of history. And it is very beautiful, very interesting, my people. Passion for God. Passion for humanity. Love to God, love of humanity. We cannot escape the social unfolding of the gospel. We have no way of living a only spiritual religion. It is not good. My spirituality needs to be, we need to be mystique men and women. This is inevitable. We need to be men and women of prayer. We need to be sacrament men and women in this dimension all the time. We cannot detach from the mystical motives of our action. But we must not forget that this action is important either. Action without prayer becomes, but prayer without action becomes alienation. And the church teaches us that neither lonely ways is healthy. We need to live this beautiful junction. For a long time in the church we had mistakes. Liberation theology in many, I do not say all over, but in many segments it was terribly made it. In many places she made a mistake because she summed up evangelical action to a social action, forgot the mystical dimension. On the other hand, charismatic renewal, in many places, in many segments, also forgot the social dimension, has only become spirituality. But what about social action? And the love of neighbor? We pray, 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 but go out there and mistreat the person outside. How can we understand that God has happened in our lives if I am not able to treat the smallest of my brothers yet? It is not true. So we need to be careful. Elsewhere, I return to liberation theology. In many places we had a beautiful social action. Politicized men and women in the name of the gospel. But without any love for Jesus. So that's not what the church wants. The church needs this balance. I find it interesting. You know, when we realize that our time takes care of adjusting these things, right? I keep seeing in so many places charismatic renewal discovered this imbalance and created institutions, created wonderful care works. You did a job then. It's interesting. It is interesting to seek to understand that this love of God is all salve of humanity, and that I cannot unbalance. The sky is for the one who balances. This is interesting. This is a matter of maturity. As we live, we will discover our imbalances. I look at the past, for example, and I see how many times my religion was just spirituality. How long have I been insensitive to social issues? Often. Today I feel, thank God. I feel my heart much more moved to seek this balance. One must be a man of prayer, but one must also be a man of action. Then we are doing the partnerships we can, right? We go? We know that there is a wonderful social work there, which is doing a social work, but is also looking for mystical. Then we go there and establish partnership. This is the volunteer work we all need to have. People. It is amazing how much volunteer work occupies our minds to the point of making us forget about the problems we have out. And when we forget the problem we have, it seems that it solves, right? It is God acting in our lives. I particularly think my people, who are missing for us, often occupy our heads with something. There are so many works through our cities, private initiatives that need voluntary actions. Volunteer work is of an impressive beauty, because it does a damn good to those who receive it. But it also does who perform. And you take time from your life, from your day, suddenly 2, 3 days a week. I have my friend Judite there in Tabate. She does a beautiful job there at the regional hospital. Makes the visit to the people who have cancer. Make a coffee for these people. Sometimes there are patients there that has no visits. It is the only opportunity that suddenly has to talk a little with a different person who is out there in the context of the hospital. And this volunteer work is a beautiful social unfolding. So, because I love God, I will get those who need him. Fina there in Formiga, who does a beautiful job also there at San Luis Hospital. Also providing a coffee to the sick. Francois also there from Famaga, who is always with the Finn, helping in these initiatives. Anyway, there are many things throughout Brazil. There are many little things that we can do, and that do too good to the hearts of the people who receive. And then you will also forget a little of your problems. What a head that is busy. The devil has no time, right? And many times, what is missing in our lives is to occupy our hearts and our mind as well.